Mr. Justin Minahan, how the heck are you?
I'm well. Busy.
Yeah.
Had a great weekend racing, and yeah, had a good day at work.
Racing? Hang on a second. Like little boats? Little car? What are you racing?
I have a front engine dragster with a 500-inch Cadillac motor that runs on alcohol and nitromethane.
Okay, now everybody's listening to the episode. They're like, oh, you got his man card. Yeah. You race at, and so what's the name of your car, by the way?
The Copper Cadillac.
The Copper Cadillac. Very nice. And where do you race it?
We have a group called NorCal Nostalgia. We race up in Northern California and in Fallon, Nevada.
Wow. Now, you had told me a little bit about racing. Didn't you say you had that you raced the salt flats as well?
Yeah, I used to run a 1951 Triumph motorcycle, and I have a couple land speed records at Bonneville and El Mirage.
Oh, do you? You've got land speed records.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good for you.
In the vintage engine category.
Vintage engine category being?
So 650cc modified frame, partial streamline, and vintage engine. So the engine has to be older than 1955 or 55 and older.
Nice.
So it's an old hardtail bike.
Oh, and it's bikes that you do all of your.
That was a bike, yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit of craziness.
You know, it's funny. The dragster guys all said I was crazy for running the motorcycle, and the motorcycle guys all said I was crazy for running the dragster. I don't know. Guess I'm crazy.
Yeah, I guess you're crazy. Do you do the work yourself? Are you a tools
everything? Everything except the major engine machine work, but I do have my own mill, lathe, welding, all that. I do all that.
Oh, okay. Well, there's a bunch of people listening right now who are listening even closer. That's really awesome. How did you get into it, by the way?
Went to automotive school. Just got the car bug when I was in high school, and went to UTI in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then I used to build hot rods for a while, and then I went to a BMW specific school for 7 months where they was a scholarship kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I was top of my class, and then I worked at a dealer for a couple of years, and just always been into hot rods. And then it just kind of snowballed.
But now you're the door doctor.
Well, mom and dad started the business in 1978.
Yeah.
So when I turned 16, my dad gave me a truck and a service call.
A truck and a service call. So that's how you started. Let me start with this because I know people know that this question is going to come, and you listen to the podcast as well, right? You're not new to this. Justin Minahan, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all of these forward-facing business owners all around the world? Go ahead, tell us about yourself.
I'm going to be 41 next week, and I am taking over the family business. Mom and dad are ready to retire.
Okay.
And I'm a really good doorman. I am not a really good businessman, and I need all the help I can get.
Okay. You're taking over the family business. How long has it been around? How many generations or years?
Dad started in 1978. So we're 44 years now, and he's still at the shop every day. He works 50 hours a week or more.
Well, just a second ago, though, you said you wanted to take over the family business. Does he want to be at the shop that many hours a day?
No, absolutely not. He wants to be at our cabin, maintaining the family cabin out in the woods.
Okay. Who wouldn't?
Yeah, exactly. I want to be there.
Yeah. I want to be at ours, not yours.
It's pretty cool. You should visit.
Maybe I will. Thank you. So right now we're doing a coaching session. I do this every 50 episodes. I don't know if you've ever heard the other ones too, but I have real business owners like yourself on to talk about a real business issue and coach them through it the way a normal coaching meeting would go. I'm kind of fudging at the edges here because a real coaching session actually is driven by a very well thought out strategic plan.
Yeah, of course.
But today, since we don't have that, I'm going to be taking you through a 5-step coaching process. Can I just lay it out for you high level so you know how this is going to, the arc of the coaching meeting will go?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to work with you to figure out what your goal is, what we really want to accomplish by the end of today's meeting. Okay. Then once we have that very firmly established, we'll talk about the reality. What's the current situation? The next stage of that is the options. What are the options that we need to get through? And then we're going to finalize that with what are you actually going to do, along with dates and accountabilities and things like that. Step 5 actually falls outside the scope of this because normally with a coaching client, there's follow-up. It's not just a one-off meeting, right? Then we're working together towards that goal. So, but we're going to do 4 of those steps today. My own goal for the end of today is that you're going to have a very clearly defined list of actions with the logic that supports what needs to do to happen to make those happen, and then timeframes.
All right.
How's that sound?
Sounds awesome.
Okay. So is taking over the family business, that's the situation that started this thought in your mind that I might need to change things, or what? Let me do this. What's the goal for today's call? What's the biggest impact I can have for you?
Yeah, it's just working on mom and dad's succession plan of sort. However, I can help dad work at, go live at the cabin as much as he wants to.
All right. So we got a couple of naming options for this. We can call it the mom and dad succession plan. We can call it the Justin succession plan. We can call it the cabin in the woods succession plan. I guess which one I'm going to choose.
Let me guess. You're the guy that really hates hunting and fishing. I know that much.
Yeah, for sure. You know why? Because I'm not doing it right now. I think about hunting and fishing every other moment. Yeah. So do you think I would suggest we call this mom and dad succession plan, Justin's succession plan, or the cabin in the woods?
Oh, definitely the cabin in the woods.
I'm going to go with the Justin succession plan.
Okay.
Right. Well, right now, front and center is you and what you want.
All right.
Now, what you want, and I know you guys have a very strong family. We've done for those of you listening to this, Justin and I have already had our pre-call. We've chatted a couple of times, and it's time for you to take care of mom and dad the way dad took care of you. I know he gave you a truck and a service call, but he still took care of you. So the goal here is to take over the business. What's your time frame for that? When do you want that to happen by?
Well, it's a fluid thing. I think mom and dad can slowly cut their hours because they're going to have a hard time letting go completely. But just as time permits, just as fluidity happens. But if I can be, how's this? If they're not in the office or if they're not working more than 15 hours a week in 2 years, that's my goal.
Okay, 2 years they should be at 15 hours per week, which is still
just kind of coming up. But yeah, it's just consulting and drop in for a day. Can you look at this? And
yeah. Let me ask this question though. Have you had that conversation with them? What they really want?
Yeah, they're okay with that. Yeah, we've talked about. Yeah, dad wants to. Yeah, I was talking to him earlier. He wants to be fired tomorrow.
So 2 years or sooner would be the right answer.
Yes.
And 2 years and 0, not 15.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But what about mom?
Yeah, she's on board. She's a lot slower to let go, and she's a lot harder to replace. Because she's got 40 years of office knowledge of knowing which vendor, how to sell what part and what lock and and those kinds of things. Whereas like finding somebody that can paint a door and hang a door is easier than finding somebody that has 40 years of knowing which vendor to order a lock from.
Right.
And that's, the ins and the outs and the books and the, which form do you send into the city for this and things like that.
Those things are learnable though, right? It's not
absolutely.
It's not just Mom Minahan that knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the goal, let's restate the goal. The goal is a succession plan. The time frame sounds to me like it's 2 years at 0. Like 2 years, they should be worked out of the business to the point where optionally, if they want to come in, of course, they're your parents. They can come in anytime they want. And, we could even leave a desk for them, etc. What about financially? What are the expectations there for them financially?
Not a lot. They're not expecting me to buy the business. My long-term plan for them has just been they just get a pension. They just get a check every month for the rest of their life. Just like their employees.
A check. So they want a check forever and you want to pay them a check forever.
That's how I feel about it. I don't even know if they want a check forever, but I feel like they deserve one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, which is excellent. I think, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I think a meeting with mom and dad about this very subject, what does it look like? What does good look like for them? What does success look like for them? Is probably a good thing to do. And since we're now recording this as a podcast, what a great way to have them listen to the podcast and me say, hi, Ma and Pa Minahan. I think the three of you should have a serious meeting where you refer to each other by all of your first names and say, this is what we'd like, in X many years, we need a lump sum of this, we need ongoing of that, etc. Because that's normal and reasonable.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff is set up. It's just a matter of just adjusting a couple of things, like I just need to become 51% owner, things like that.
Right.
But that's just a matter of formalities. They're on board with all of this.
Excellent. So the fact that they're on board is great, and you guys are aligned, and you're obviously a strong family, which is wonderful. The next thing I would ask, what's that?
I'm really lucky to have such a good family.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now you know they're listening. That's why you said that. But I wouldn't be doing my job unless I asked you for a time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's assume let's assume a lot of things. Assume that your parents do want to leave. Assume that your parents do, work their way down.
Yep.
Within 2 years, they're not working at all or at their discretion, whenever they want, remote or in the shop. We need to have a discussion about the finances, what they need and expect, because who knows what they want unless we ask them. And then paperwork and transfer. By what date does paperwork have to be in place?
Mm-hmm.
Because succession planning is actually about systemizing the business. And there's business risk if we don't have that succession planning thing in place. Like, geez, I don't want to sound impolite, but somebody's going to go first. So, we have to have paperwork in place that says, in the event of this, this is how those shares cascade. In the event of this is how the shares cascade. And lawyers make entire careers out of the set of circumstances around that. But we actually need that for stability with the vendors, with ourselves internally, with all of the credit lines and making sure that this 44-year-old business becomes an 88-year-old business.
Yeah.
So that being said, when do you think the ideal time frame would be to have that financial and paperwork discussion?
Well, I don't think it's in the next couple of months, just as our schedules permit. Shouldn't be a problem. Probably sooner is what you're thinking.
I just haven't answered yet, but what's the actual date that you think that should happen by? And give me a month.
Well, it's middle of June or end of June. How about middle of August?
Okay, so have this discussion by mid-August. So by mid-August, have you noticed that I'm focusing a lot on actions and dates? Why do you think that is?
Is that something's actually get done as opposed to just putting on a list that doesn't go anywhere?
Yeah,
like my long list that I have on my phone of things that I'm supposed to do that I don't. Yeah, my today list that's years old. Yeah,
the today to do list. Yeah. So that's just good discipline in management. Is when we set a goal, especially an important one like this, we have to have some time frames on it. And not all time frames have to be absolute. We could say, well, I want to think about this up until August, and then in August I want to set the meeting. I'm not trying to buy you some back doors to race out of, but there has to be a date that things get done or things never get done.
Yeah, no, that's how we do things in our business. I just tell Mom, schedule this. If she, if I need to do something, just can you schedule me to do this? And she puts it on my schedule and it's done.
I live by my schedule. I love it. Time management 101. Have a schedule and stick to it.
I don't have a choice. It's like, oh, it's on my schedule.
Have to do it. Yeah, that's good discipline. So the goal here is to take over the business. The goal is to have your parents work down their requirement to be there. Mm-hmm. The goal is now also to have good paperwork in place, good documentation in place. What's the reality? What are we lacking right now in order to make the transition happen?
The hardest thing is people. That is our biggest problem, because I'm in the field hanging doors because one of my carpenters is injured and I need another one. And my dad's in the paint shop painting because we can't hire a painter that can tie his shoes.
Carpenter, painter, and then what role does your mom play if it was
she's the main, she does everything in the office. So yeah, that would be another person that would probably be even two in reality.
Ops or admin?
Yeah, well, she does sales, she does admin,
oh, okay.
she does HR, she does.
It's HR. So that's a significant role.
Yeah.
So people is our problem.
Definitely.
Oh, and this is a good point to bring up. I'm glad you're looking forward to the future. These people are retiring. Two of them, your painter and your operations administrator, is retiring. Your carpenter is just needs leveling up, or
okay, so maybe I'm confusing you. I'm sorry. Okay, so I need a painter to take care of my dad, or to do his job, because my dad is doing that job right now. An office admin kind of person, salesperson, to take care of Mom's job. And then my other office admin lady and sales lady is going to retire, and her husband is my other carpenter, and he's also going to retire.
Oh boy.
They're all in their 70s, all four of them. So mom and dad, Rod and Susan, and they're all good at what they do. I have the feeling they're all on that same train of, we can just dial it back. It's not going to be golden watch, big party, go away. Maybe Rod the carpenter is, but Susan, she's one of those hard to let go kind of people too. And she's so awesome. We love her.
That's fantastic. So you've already built a strong culture. There's a strong family vibe running through this whole thing, which is great. And 44 years in business, by the way, is nothing to sneeze at. That's significant. Most companies don't make it past 5. So 44 is a big deal. Passing into succession onto the next generation is also a big deal. So this underscores, though, the need for dates and gates.
Mm-hmm.
So, all respect to everybody here that you mentioned, they have a retirement date, a date they want to retire by, like we all do.
Yeah.
So that means we've got to start backfilling with enough time to get somebody up to speed. And we also have to continue the culture that we've got now. Yeah. What's your ideal date to fill these positions?
Well, I can say, the carpenter and the painter, I mean, I could fill them tomorrow. If I've got one guy I'm trying to hook on. And then, but after that, I mean, just as soon as we can get those two, those are yesterday kind of positions.
Okay. So what are the restrictions on stopping you from hiring a carpenter or a painter?
The quality of the applicants. I'm either not getting applicants, or the applicants I'm getting literally can't speak English. I mean, or like can't write a resume that's intelligible. I have one. I'll send it to you. You'll die laughing. You're like, this can't be real. This has to be a joke. It's like you use Google Translate, but doesn't have anyone to proofread it, and it's not intelligible.
Yeah. And by the way, is excellent language skills important for this position, or is the technical expertise?
Yeah, in reality it is, because of the way the finish shop schedule is for the painter is we don't do just painting. We do high-end finishing on front doors. And so we even stain garage doors occasionally. So I mean, it's a high-end finished product, and so we have a schedule with dates and install dates and things like that. And then, but being able to communicate with the customer sometimes is, all right, is this the color you want, or is this the color you want?
Right.
And sometimes we can have an intermediary, and sure, if someone's a second generation, or for even, they don't have.
I understand what you mean, though. There's a requirement here that you're dealing with customers and you're dealing internally. Yeah. So a good grasp of English is important.
It's a paid position. It's a skilled position. It's not just a basic.
Yeah. So what would stop you from going out there and doubling the wage of somebody and just finding the right person?
That's a good question. And we're at that point where maybe I need to start. I don't really know anybody in our trade that does that locally.
How are you going about finding people now? Can you just, as a laundry list, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this?
So mom does the regular, Indeed, and, I don't know if she's doing Craigslist at the moment, but I know we've tried it. Because we've been looking for a finisher for a year and a half, 2 years. And
how big is your town, Justin? How big is your city?
90,000. Okay. We're just east of San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay. So we're doing Indeed, we're doing Craigslist.
And I've done Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Facebook and Instagram.
Mom and dad obviously not savvy on social media.
Yeah. That's okay though. Those are the tools that we're using. Now, without looking at the Indeed ad or the Craigslist ad, what do you think needs to change to get people in there? Because it's not just a money thing.
I feel like, okay, so every carpenter we know, in the area here has given up trying to hire people. They just don't know what to do. They're at their wits' end. I know one guy, he had a billboard set up. I know one guy, he was offering like $1,000 bounty for anybody that could get him someone that could work for him for 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Like just anybody that can tie their shoes, and they went unanswered.
How do you have any subcontractors right now that you use?
Not really. We have contractors that use us.
Have you ever thought about, now we're in the options phase of our coaching here. Have you ever thought about buying a competitor or buying a sub trade?
So one of my competitors, actually, it's ironic. It's a guy I trained. And he's actually a long story, but he's the reason why I found you.
Okay.
But yeah, he started a bit. I trained him. He quit, started his own business here in town, doing the same thing I trained him to do.
Yeah.
And now he's thinking about selling.
What
And
is
yeah,
his
but the
career
problem
look
is his brothers are his employees, and I don't know how long they would.
Ah.
They all want to move to Idaho, so I don't know what the would I be
I
buying?
gotcha.
Would I be buying capital on a phone number? Great.
Yeah.
That's not the problem. I need the
You need the manpower. You need the
I need
manpower.
manpower. Yeah.
So that's good. So you've already explored that as a potential option. And by the way, and this is for you and for everyone listening, that is a trend that is catching steam right now. When people can't hire enough people, one of the options is just go buy another company and absorb their 5 people or their 3 people or their 30.
And maybe I need to look at it a little bit deeper and see what people would come with the business and for how long.
Yeah. Now, if that company isn't the right target to buy, now, and we're going down this buy.
Yeah. No,
right
I'm
Let's
listening.
buy a competitor.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
else?
it's actually, it's a valid thought.
Yeah. So who else does kind of what we do? Who else has good carpenters and good painters? What other trades have that?
Yeah. 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 We do have 1 or 2 other entry door competitors. I don't think anyone does their own finishing. We're the only company in the area that does their own finishing. So it would have to be hire a finisher from a painting company or something like that. But most of the painting contractors are so busy right now that they would want more than we could afford for a painting business. So
people sell businesses for all sorts of reasons.
Good point. Yeah.
All sorts of reasons, and opening up the conversation is one path to go. But let's not get too far down that. So one of the options is a painting company. The other option is a cabinet shop.
Yeah.
They do custom painting, and they're chock full of carpenters. And you're doing high-end doors. Cabinet shops are building.
Window shop. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Window shop. See how it's starting to open up now? Now, we might not find what we need, but we have to, if we're entrepreneurial, if we're forward-facing business owners, then we've got to look at behind things and under rocks that other people hadn't even considered. So we've got painting companies, cabinet shops, window shops. What about aluminum fencing and decking companies? They're custom manufacturing and they're painting.
I don't know how well that would really, but yeah, I know what you're thinking. Yeah. All right. Well, at least it gives me, what we now have the thought impetus to, all right, start going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah. So in the options category, if you just put options on the middle of the page, one of the options that we just brainstormed is, what about buying a competitor? And it started by sounding like, well, there's one other door guy, but now we've opened it up and there's some other possibilities. Painting company, cabinet shop, window shop, maybe aluminum shop, just whatever. They don't all have to be winners. They just got to be on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. But now the second thing under the options category is, what about changing who you sell to or what you sell to people? Is that a possibility?
Well, that's what we've been doing with the finishing. Is we and painting, we've started, some of our vendors will sell us the stuff pre-finished.
Okay.
But they generally won't do the jams and trim. And so, but at least we don't have to deal with the door. Now it's just paint some jams and trim. That's not that big of a deal.
So are jams and trim done on site, or are they done?
We do it in the shop, and then so it's all a sprayed finish.
Yeah.
And then when we get out to the job site, all we have to do is caulk and putty.
Okay. So allow me to ask, and I asked this not being a door guy, and that's, my ignorance is supposed to be my superpower here. You can laugh later. So if we can do more pre-finished work and get our vendor to finish it for us, could we sub out the jams and trim to painting company, cabinet shop, window shop, aluminum shop? We've
Tried to get a hold of some of the painters and have one as like just do the small job things, and they either don't want to do it because they're too busy. Every painter in the area is booked out 6 months to a year, just like we are.
Yeah. And same with the cabinet shops.
Yeah.
But not every one of them. And I don't know that we've gone through and methodically picked away at a list to try and solve this problem.
Well, so what we've started doing is we just tell people it costs a lot more to have us paint or finish. Or we tell them we'll install a painted door. You find your own painter, do the jams and trim, and it'll save you so much time. We'll be able to install it 3 months sooner.
Okay.
and you'll save a bunch of money. We're
So,
expensive.
so we've got change how we sell,
Yeah.
change how we build.
And so we can keep rolling with that. We can just effectively eliminate the finish up. It's not the end of the world if we had to do that. It's
Yeah.
just kind of always been part of our business model is we paint what we sell.
Well, now that's the other thing here is so far we've got options as the heading. One of them is buy a competitor. The next one underneath that, I like how you have an NRA water bottle. That's like so true to form there.
Oh, that's NHRA, drag racing.
Sorry, I only saw your thumb was there. You go.
Yeah. I got other beer and random other stickers on there. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot you're a beer aficionado.
I'm a beer nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to that after. Okay, so we've got options, buy a competitor, options, change how we sell, change how we build. One of the questions I haven't asked yet, kind of a doozy that I want to drop on you is, what is your most profitable line of business? So what is the core that you do this kind of work and it makes you money?
Okay, so there's two things.
Yeah.
Garage door springs
Hmm.
and the really high-end front doors. There's one company called Geldwin, their IWP line.
Yep.
They come perfect. And they usually start at 10 grand installed, and we don't have to do any finishing or painting, or very rarely. And it's 2 men 1 day, and we just make money.
Yeah. Okay. I love it.
It's just the hardest part with that is just getting people to swallow the initial purchase pill.
So that's a marketing question.
Line because, well, how much, I can't afford that, but I can afford the next line lower, but that ends up being more work. And so what we're trying to do is raise the price on the lower lines to where it's like, well, it's just a little bit more and you get this amazing product now. So
that's a marketing question. That now you've changed part of our people problem into a marketing problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How technically skilled do I need to be a garage door spring guy?
Well, my garage door crew is good. It takes me a month to train a guy to do springs properly. If that's all, that's his main focus. If I'm a guy with just basic can operate a screw gun kind of skills, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me a month and he'll be good enough. I can send him out in a truck.
Sure.
We do a lot of springs. And so that's a big core part of our business. I have 3 full-time garage door guys, and they're holding their own weight at the moment. That's not the panic. They're easier to hire than a finished trim carpenter.
Interesting. So what thought goes through your mind now as I stratify, as I lay your business out in some layers? These guys are easier to find than finished carpenters. It's our high volume, high profit margin, easy to train guys.
So you're saying just quit selling the lesser line of entry doors and only sell the real high end doors, front doors, and just do garage door work.
I like how you started it with, so you said. I didn't say anything. Nice try though.
You're thinking.
I'm listening, and here's what I'm hearing.
All right.
Right. I mean, at the end of this is not my company, it's yours. And the decisions that you make are yours to make. That's your right and your privilege, right? But we have to separate things and start to look at it in different ways, because business, no matter what happens, by the time you're double the size of a company, you're still going to have problems that need to be fixed. This doesn't go away. It's just different questions. There's more zeros. There's more people. Hopefully the people aren't zeros, if you know what I mean. But it changes the nature. The nature of the question changes, but they're the same questions again and again. How are we doing what we do? How do we serve the ideal customer? Do we have the right customer? Do we have the right mix of tooling and people to serve the right customer? Are the trends changing in the market? Those kinds of questions come up whether you're 30 million or 3 million. So we've talked about the goal. We've talked about the reality. The reality led us off into options. And now under options, we've got buy a competitor, change how we build, change how we sell. And then we've got change the focus of our marketing. I'll just say, change what we focus on. It doesn't mean you can't slide back into another vertical later when the trend changes again, back to vinyl doors or something like that. But if that's probably a bad word for you. But you know what I mean? Like, you can move with the market as needed.
Yeah, when you're starving, you'll take on more work. That's for sure.
Yeah. Change marketing. Any other options here that we have to change the nature of the question here?
To Just fold the whole thing up and I go work for somebody else.
That's an option too. Shut her down. And maybe that's what's best for everybody. I don't know. What do you want to do?
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I didn't think you were there yet, but it is an option to put on the table.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's an option.
If someone hangs a big enough carrot in front of me, I would consider it. It's just, I get a lot of perks. I get a company truck that I don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
I get to park my race car trailer at the property. I get my own shop to work on my race car.
I mean, that's fun just right there, right?
Yeah.
It makes it easy to stay at the shop and do extra
When you
work.
start doing the math on what that would actually cost, it's like, I only make so many dollars, but I get all these other perks.
Yeah. Yeah. And the freedom.
Yeah.
And the knowledge of being a self-made man, which I think drives a lot of us here. I'm a self-made person, right? So if we stop the coaching meeting right now, what actions or questions do you have? And I'm going to be silent for a minute and let you write them down and think about them. What actions or questions do you have if we stop the meeting right now?
I'm going blank.
Well, let me summarize the meeting for you in a second, or for a second. Here's what we'll do is let's do a reverse role play. So you and I are buddies. We've been buddies for years. Went to the same high school. I moved to a different town, but I've got the same background as you. I like to race cars, motorcycles, stuff like that. I took over my family business, the same as you've done. And now we're having a beer and I'm just telling you my situation. I'm going to tell you the situation. And then when I'm done, I'd like you to say, Dom, I want you to do this, this, and that. Does that sound good?
All right.
Okay. So, hey man, good to see you again.
How you been? It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So
are you drinking hazies or stouts?
I don't drink beer anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm a hard liquor man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Whiskey with an E or whiskey without the E?
Yeah, I like rye. I'll tell you what I tell you, and this is something you didn't know about me, but if a drink has an umbrella sticking out of it, I love it. I don't, and you can make fun of me as much as you want.
Oh no, I love tiki stuff.
Yeah, I love cocktails. Yeah, for sure. So here we are having a cocktail. I gotta pick your brain though for a second. I have a family business and you have a family business. I'm supposed to take over from my folks. And by all the grace of God, they're still here with us and I love it. I think they love it too, but I think it's time for them to do more other stuff. So I need to start moving into a position where I'm actually driving the business forward proactively so that they can take a step back. And I'm hoping to do that in about 2 years, I think. I also have some other key employees that are about to retire. So there's going to be some change at the top end of the company. Geez, how long have we been at this? Probably the same as your company. I think we've been at this for 44 years for our company. How long have you guys been around?
44 years.
44 years, yeah. So we've got a people problem. And I don't know what it's like for you, but I could use some advice. It is insane trying to hire people right now. We run ads on Indeed, we put stuff on Craigslist, but the quality of the people we get responding sort of makes my heart sink.
Yeah. So that's tough where I'm dealing with the same thing. So it sounds like, yeah, a combination of quit doing certain types of work until you can hire people. You're gonna have to work some late hours to try and figure out, find people, flyers at the paint store, at the, put little ads up, do little, I'm hiring, hang out there and
yeah,
grab people, throw them in the truck.
Okay.
Right.
This is what you've said to me so far. I'm just taking notes, Justin, because I want to grab all this good info from you. So you said, quit doing X kind of work, quit doing certain kind of work.
Doing the work that, that requires you as much.
Oh, okay.
So then you can be in the office running the business.
Get me off the tools.
Yes, sir.
Get me running the business. Okay. Thank you. I got that. And then the other thing you said, I need to hire different people. And then you said, get serious about recruiting. Or that's what I wrote.
Yeah, that's a better way to phrase it, certainly.
Okay. Hire different people. I'll change that over to get serious about recruiting. Doing expert, get me off the tools, get me out of running the business. Anything else you have as a suggestion for me?
Oh. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay. It's not easy being a business coach, is it?
Yeah.
What if you get stuck? Then you're really in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I have a solution for you under the what will you do, right? So let me just go back for a second. We've established our goal, which is the succession plan for a very successful family business, right? The reality is, we've talked about the reality a bunch, right? The options, we laid them all out just to cover it again: buy a competitor, change how we build, change how we sell, change our marketing, and then, or shut it down. It's another option. And then the other options led us into what will you do? And so to do that, I used a little coaching trick, a little fun little role play thing where we reversed positions. And some of the things that you felt were valuable to share with your good friend was quit doing certain kinds of work, get serious about recruiting, get me off the tools, and get me running the business. Or as you hear me say on the show, being a business person that just happens to run a door company versus a contractor with a crew. Right? How have we summarized things so far? Good?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Can I leave coaching for a second and go into more of the this is what we need to do next?
Absolutely.
You're like, okay, Rubino, thank God. Finally. I think you're going to be surprised to hear this, but it's going to be consistent with what you've heard from me before, is I really feel you need a strategic plan. Mm-hmm. One plan, one piece of paper, where you download everything in your head onto one piece of paper. And I'll tell you what that'll do for you. And I've seen this happen many times, is you can share that piece of paper with mom and dad. And you say, hey, this is my plan. And they're going to look at that piece of paper with you and go, wow, okay, you wrote down the plan. What about this? And I don't agree with that. And then you say, okay, well, what would you say there? What could we say different? Mm-hmm. But once you have that plan, it's alive. Right now, it's just in your head.
Yeah.
And I think one of the challenges that you might have is nothing scares you in construction, in automotive repair, in racing. You're like, well, I want to go 10% faster, so I'm just going to do this, this, and that. And you know how to do it.
Just time.
It's just time and money. Time and money and nitrous oxide, right?
Nitromethane. It's actually worse.
Oh,
it's more addictive than heroin. Yeah. It's a powerful solvent, and it can dissolve bank accounts and marriages.
You have a really good quote that you and I sort of wrestled up. I know we're having a serious conversation here, but it's probably time for a little bit of the real Justin Minahan. What was your country music song?
Well, when people ask me why I don't have children, it's because my wife at the time didn't want to have kids while I was racing, and I didn't want to have kids while she was drinking.
All right. Anybody out there that can write country music or do a little jingle, we'd love to hear you turn that. And Rick, I'm talking to you, by the way. Rick knows who he is. I think that's a great line, man. When it tops the charts, when we see Simon Cowell commenting on it on America's Got Talent, we'll know we've made it.
Well, I got a cowboy hat. I'll be there. I'll have my own brand of whiskey.
Oh yeah, whiskey with a Y or whiskey with an E?
Ooh. I'm going to err on the side of E, but I'm not, I'm not racist against either.
Yeah, lately gin has been my thing. I found a really good gin. Now, good gin has to be paired with good tonic. Yeah, I know. You're right. Yeah, beer rye.
Yeah, I had a good Scottish gin the other day.
Scottish gin?
Yeah, I guess their Scottish distillers are popping up left and right now.
Okay.
But it's called Rock Rose, I think.
Okay. I might have to try it. Yeah, the one I drink lately is called Sheringham's, and it's got all sorts of kelp and seaweed in it, and it tastes too good. I don't have a drinking problem, but I certainly have a thinking about it too often problem.
I'm pretty good at it.
I can't do it. It just the way I feel the next day is not good. So I'll have honestly, I might have one drink a week, but if I'm going to, I'm not drinking something I don't like. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's always room for a Crown Royal and Coca-Cola Slurpee.
Okay. Yeah.
Now that is about as, whiskey tango as you can get, but I do like it. Okay. Back to seriousness, strategic plan. And we talk about this a lot on the show, right? And the reason for that is having one central piece of paper actually becomes the boss. And guys like you and I don't need a boss. We don't want a boss. But what I mean is Justin was the boss that day and he wrote down, this is what I want to do in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And it's easy to refer back to that piece of paper on your darkest day when you just feel like you're running and nothing got done. You just flip back and you go, what was that plan again? Oh, we're doing this. We're changing our product lines. I forgot. Here I am doing another estimate for a vinyl door for a customer I don't like, 60 miles out of town, and that's not part of my strategic plan. In the strategic plan, I said I wanted to focus on garage door springs and high-end front doors. And so now you know what you do? You go, I'm going to go work on my car because I'm not doing that quote for that cheap vinyl door for that horrible customer who lives out of town. It becomes the boss. It becomes that central rallying cry that you can look back on with confidence because in a lucid state, without gin and tonics in your system or whiskey stouts or whatever you're drinking, you wrote down on paper and said, this will be the plan for the next 3 years. This will be the plan for the next 1 year, whatever that is. So that strategic, it's not hard to do. I mean, obviously I do them all the time, but having that is the thing you want to do. So there's 2 plans out there. One of them comes from a book called Traction, written by Gino Wickman, and it's called EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System. And if you write down the word traction, you can get the audiobook. That's the one I've used for many, many years. And people out there who coach with me right now or who take any of the coaching programs, like the training we do, they'll recognize this right away. That is exactly what we use. The other system that I think is too much gun for the bear, to use a hunting quote, is Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish. Now, I have to admit, when I built my first large company, I was using the Rockefeller Habits. But by the time I found the Rockefeller Habits, my company was already north of 50 million a year. There's just a lot of stuff in the Rockefeller Habits, whereas EOS, you have to add stuff to. And so I quite often find it easier to take a system I have to add to. It gives me more flexibility.
All right.
I think that's the homework. I think that's the plan. I mean,
Right.
And I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Books. I'm good at that.
Yeah. And I can talk to you about it offline as well, because obviously I know the ins and outs of those things, but without any sort of plan and dates and timelines and accountabilities, this is just going to be a conversation you keep having. And unfortunately, the calendar is not our friend right now.
Yeah. Life is like a roll of toilet paper. It goes faster towards the end.
Oh man, you're awesome. I might get you to a side gig, just writing little snippets and quotes for me to use.
I hang out with a lot of funny guys, and some of them stick in my head.
Some of those stick in your head. That's a good one, actually. I had my, the greatest people for those one-liners I find to be ranchers.
Oh, yeah.
Cattle ranchers.
Yeah.
Because they just say stuff, it rolls off their tongue. You know, you can almost see them looking out in the horizon. That guy is crazier than a cricket on a can of corn. Like, well, that must be.
Yeah, I can think of a few. Some of them aren't appropriate for your podcast, though.
Yeah. No, that's okay. That's okay. We've got some appropriate ones on the podcast here. What's the other one I've heard? Angrier than a bobcat in a 6-inch box.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's pretty angry. Yeah, that's pretty angry. But I mean, who comes up with those things except my rancher buddies from the right smack in the middle of the country? All right, let's summarize where we're at and see if you've got the actions you need to go forward with confidence. So let me just repeat back to you what you said. And I'm not saying these, I'm saying what we talked about here. And then you can say no, or you can consider them, but it's up to you, the actions that come next. But here's what you mentioned back. Quit doing certain kind of work. Get serious about recruiting. Get yourself off the tools, which you'll hear me say here, working from the neck up.
I've heard that many times on your podcast.
Yeah. Good. So at least I'm consistent. And then get you running the business, which is the strategic plan. And then further to that, for you, Justin, and everybody listening, they're in the book. It's called Traction. You don't need me to do it, but find somebody who can work with you side by side to hold you accountable to do that. Maybe it's mom and dad. Right. Yeah. And then the other reminder here is you are racing the calendar. You've got 4 key positions that the calendar is ticking on, and we have to fill those, or the gap that's going to hit us might be a game ender.
Yeah. Or it's just going to be me by myself, and I only take on enough work to keep myself human. Yeah.
You can't come back. It'll be very difficult to come back from that. You can, don't get me wrong, you can come back from that, but why?
Why? Exactly. Let's try and avoid it now. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like selling one tire from your truck, from your race car and going, we should be okay. We'll get by on 3. Painful. Okay, Justin, how was that?
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Very helpful. That's very
Is that what you thought coaching would be like? Side jokes and side conversations aside.
Similar.
Have you ever worked with a business coach before or a mentor?
No, but listening to your podcast, I was telling mom and dad, I listened to this podcast and I realized I need a business coach. And this was, I don't know, a couple months ago. And then your thing popped up and it was like, yeah, I'll chime in on that.
Yeah. I'm glad you did.
Me too.
Yeah. I think when you get a chance to listen back to this, maybe some of the parts will, hearing ourselves is that's where you get the wisdom. You're like, I was right. I being you, not me. I don't have to be right. Okay. Well, Justin, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it. If you had to leave the listeners with a piece of advice about what you've learned in a family business and looking at succession planning, what would you pass on to everybody else?
Oh, yeah, that's where I'm at. That's why I'm here. I don't have any advice. Oh. Yeah, the sooner you can, you should probably be taking those business classes that mom and dad told you to take 20 years ago that you didn't take. Yeah, probably should have done that.
Yeah. At the same time, I got to give you more credit back. Most of the people I deal with, most of the successful and success track business owners didn't take business courses.
Okay.
They had a pickup truck and a nail gun.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start this company. Or me and my buddy are going to start, doing whatever. And then they look around, like, oh my God, we're doing 800 grand. We're doing 2 million a year. That's when they realize, I don't know the business stuff, but you can always go find it through people like me.
Yeah.
So I've said this before, I don't have a business degree.
Okay.
I'm a forensic anthropologist. I'm actually an archaeologist. Oh. Who would have thunk that? But it didn't stick. I'm a business guy through and through. And so I went and got my head kicked in corporate world for a long time. And I learned turnarounds actually at a big phone company. And then I just kept with it. Right. So who knows how the path we all get to this place through different paths.
It's funny how we get here. My dad's got a degree in political science. So yeah, and I have a degree in automotive repair. So
right. And you're doing doors. Sure. Yeah. But it's who all of these things is who you become by going through the process, right? I've got a client, I've mentioned him on the show many, many times. He didn't finish high school and he's got a multi-million-dollar shop right now, running very well, and he wants it to do better. But he doesn't, the good thing with him is he doesn't dwell on the fact that he didn't finish high school.
Yeah.
He goes, I build them now. I didn't finish high school, but I can build you one.
All right.
Isn't that interesting, right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have an MBA, and I find this is me. I'm saying I don't have an MBA, and they're a real hassle to hire because they always think they know everything. It's all theory. And you know what? Business doesn't run on theory. It runs on reality. It runs on the little things like, and again, I'm going to do this on purpose as a coach. When is that conversation with mom and dad about paperwork and financials? When are we going to point to a calendar and say, Mom and Dad, I love you. When do you want to go to the cabin? And they'll say, not in the winter. I want to be there in the spring. Okay, which spring?
Yep.
etc. All right. Mr. Justin Minahan, I have appreciated having you here.
Me too.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Great talking to you, sir.
Thank you. You too. Let's wrap it up here and stay on the line for a second. We'll have a quick side chat.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.